Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. Austin, how the heck are you? It is the eve of NCAA Regional Baseball. I think I'm getting ready to head to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I just got my media credentials. That's where Oklahoma State's playing. About a 10-hour drive. So I'm going to knock out a little bit of Dodgers Dawgs and then probably kiss the beautiful bride of 26 years, kiss the two Dodgers Dawgs, and get on to Alabama. So how the heck are you, man?
Casey, I'm doing great. First off, let's talk a little bit Oklahoma State baseball. Yes. I have not watched a single second of Cowboys baseball this year. Tell us a little bit about the team, kind of what you're expecting going into this weekend, which sounds super exciting for you.
So a link to the Dodgers. They play the SC Upstate Spartans first game tomorrow at 1 o'clock in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. SC Upstate is the alma mater of the Oklahoma City Comets hitting coach, former Loons hitting coach, Dylan Nishotka. That's where he played his college baseball, so I'm familiar with them. They've actually beaten Clemson. They beat Gardner-Webb, who Oklahoma State lost to earlier this year at home and almost lost the second game to. So it's a really good team. They're going to flip a lefty. Oklahoma State has the second most home runs in all of college baseball behind Georgia. Georgia plays basically in a bandbox. So really, I think Oklahoma State's probably the most powerful team in America in terms of hitting home runs. If you're just look at all the elements, they're going to flip a lefty. They have a staff that's given up a lot of home runs this year. So it's going to be an interesting cat and mouse between can Oklahoma State hit home runs against a left-handed pitcher for SC Upstate, or can SC Upstate force Ethan Lund or Hudson Barrett, whoever starts for OSU, to throw strikes, which they haven't always done this year. So that's a cat and mouse game there. Super excited to see that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty exciting. So is the expectation, I think Oklahoma State's going to be able to take it this time, or is it a little bit more up in the air, question mark with this thing? And also with the regionals and stuff, how does that playoff work? If they lose, does that mean they're completely out? I'm not completely aware of college baseball.
Yeah. So it's a 4-team regional. So Oklahoma State's the 2 seed. Alabama's the 1 seed. They're hosting. So you have the 1 seed Alabama hosting, 2 seed Oklahoma State, 3 seed SC Upstate, and the 4 seed Alabama State. So tomorrow, OSU, the 2 and 3 seeds will play, OSU and SC Upstate. Then the 1 and 4 will play, which is Alabama and Alabama State. The winners will play, the losers will play. It's a double elimination tournament. If you win that, then you go to a best 2 out of 3 super regional. Oklahoma State is matched up with Florida State. Florida State has Coastal Carolina in their regional this year. Coastal Carolina made the championship series a year ago. If Coastal Carolina could go and beat Florida State, Oklahoma State could beat Alabama. OSU could host next weekend in super regionals. But other than that, that's how that works. And then the next step is the College World Series. So super excited.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. Going to be some fun stuff for you coming up this weekend, sounds like. We also got some fun stuff to talk about in the world of Dodgers baseball too, don't we, Case?
We absolutely do. So first of all, Austin, okay, let me play this. I got to get into this. We're going to get into Ryan Ward getting called up. We're going to get into Mookie Betts. We're going to get into Freddie Freeman. We're going to get into Kyle Tucker. We're going to get into all the injuries. We're going to get into all of it. I promise you. Okay. But the first thing that I want to talk about is the Dayton
and here's
series
the 0-2 to John Michael Bale. It's on the way. Ground ball hit toward.
Yeah. Let me turn the volume off here. Then let me click. Make sure I have it on where it'll loop. Okay, so let me get over to this, and let's see, Austin Brubaker here. Let me get to videos, if I can find the videos right here. Okay, this is, you're probably not seeing this at this point.
Yeah, I saw it last night.
Okay, so this is the brouhaha that happened in Dayton last night. So tell us about the brouhaha that happened and kind of some of the backstory here.
Okay. A little bit of backstory, what's going on this week. This week at the minor league level for Great Lakes is the most important week of their first half schedule. It's building up to this. It's Great Lakes and Dayton. For those of you who don't know the structure of minor league baseball, there's a first half and a second half. And a playoff is awarded to teams who win in the first half, who are in first place during the first half in their respective division. Little slight caveats in AAA once you get to the Pacific Coast League and National League. But for the Great Lakes Loons, they are in a fight for positioning for the playoffs. And the second place team is the Dayton Dragons, which we've talked about here on the past on the show. Not teams that Great Lakes gets along with too terribly well. both Great Lakes and Dayton have had a little bit of history. You remember back to 2022 when Austin Chubb was the manager of the Great Lakes Loons. The Loons came into Dayton down 7.5 games and made up 8.5 games with 2 weeks to eliminate the Dragons in the first half. And then you go fast forward the next couple of years, and there's been a lot of intense, fiery type of games. You get to last night, the Loons had a 4-game lead over the Dayton Dragons with a 2-0 lead going into the 9th inning in a game in which the Loons entering the 9th inning struck out 18 hitters.
Yeah.
They were 3 strikeouts away from tying a franchise record for most strikeouts by a team in a game. And Dayton found a way to be able to fight back. They were up. Loons ended up. It was runners on. I think it was runners on second and third with 1 out. Was the situation that this was, and it was a ground ball to third base. Basically, the perfect play in order to preserve the lead for the Loons. It was fielded. Third baseman throws it home. The runner at third base, which is Carter Graham, I think is who it was right there, basically runs into Victor Rodriguez, the catcher, kind of shoves him out of the way, which he's fighting for a little bit of a spot, but also a little bit of a shove. Dayton, Great Lakes already does not like each other. They understand the importance of this series, and things got a little bit feisty. Dayton was actually in a little bit of an altercation a couple of weeks ago with Lake County as well. That one was Lake County's fault. This one, Dayton a little bit initiated this. Great Lakes reacted in a moment that was frustrating because their lead was drawing away. Ultimately, Great Lakes lost in what was a really gut-wrenching type of loss for Great Lakes, and this type of situation happened. How the Loons respond tonight, which that game's going to be happening in about 20 minutes, and the rest of this week will decide whether or not they're going to represent the playoffs in the first half. They have to put this in the rearview mirror because they had a 2-0 lead. They ended up losing that. Dayton has the momentum right now, and they feel like they can take on Great Lakes, who has been in first place for most of this first half.
So a couple things here, and I don't blame anybody for anything that happened here. That's Nicholas Cruz on the mound. Nicholas Cruz, we've interviewed on here. Alice talked to Nicholas. One cool customer. I felt like he lost his cool a little bit after this. I don't see anything wrong either way here. I think this is just kind of bad timing. The runner really didn't have an ability to slide. I think he was just kind of threw his elbow out there, just kind of like you do as a reaction. I think Victor Rodriguez reacted the same way he should, and Nicholas Cruz came down and was getting ready to whoop some ass. That's kind of the way
he was defending his catcher at that point.
He was.
And you could say, hey, you got to have a clear mind because in that situation, there's still only 2 outs. We need to take this game. Make sure that you are situated and put yourself in the best position to take that game. That's probably some of the things that Jair was saying to Nicholas Cruz. This is not your fight. We will take care of that if needed. We need you on the mound to be in command, in control of that situation. But most of the other type of scenarios, it was just one of those. That's kind of the way that you should have reacted in that moment.
No doubt. I think everybody did everything okay. I think this was just a baseball play. I was a little bit. I was just very disappointed that Nicholas balked after that. I felt like that was a lack of composure. And then the walk-off bunt base hit, that's how Dayton won the game. They won on a walk-off bunt base hit. That sucked really bad. But, hey, you live and you learn. Can't wait to see Nicholas Cruz on the mound today. I think the Loons are the better team. I think they'll come out and show it, although I got to give Dayton credit, man. They are like them in Fort Wayne. They sell out every single game. They create an incredible home field environment. That's why it gets so charged up like this, because the home field. Justin Robleski will tell you, probably other than the World Series last year, probably the second most he's been fired up as a pro was when he was at Dayton and they were talking shit to him, and he talked it right back to him in the stands. Like it was like his third start in high A, and Justin just gave it right back to him, and I knew he was going to. So it's a charged up environment, super exciting.
Yep. It's going to be an incredibly important series for them. All four, I should say, affiliates are in position to at least compete for a postseason spot at this point. Both Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Ontario also fighting for playoff positioning. They're a little bit more behind. Tulsa just a game back in their division. They actually have a game right now, which I have right here. They're up 4-0, trying to battle back and try to catch up to Arkansas at this point. A lot of fun stuff is happening at the minor league level. Also some great stuff happening in Los Angeles as well.
Absolutely is. So let's dive in. Let's start there. Hey, I'm not going to lie. I wrote this in one of my posts today. I said it on my Down the Farm. If you haven't seen that, Down the Farm is posted for today. I mean, I'm glad Colorado's gone. They suck to watch. I mean, I hate watching Colorado. It's just, they're terrible. They have no culture. They have no winning. Like that, you can just see them just waiting to lose. Even in the first game, it's like, I'm a Dodgers fan, but it just makes me want to just scream at a wall when I see a team, especially a professional team, just look so defeated and just give the game away like they did there. What was that, the 7th or 8th inning, when the Dodgers, I think, had 1 hit and scored 5 runs? I mean, it just, I hate playing defeated teams like that. To me, it's a waste of time. In high school, you play teams that aren't very good, and you run rule. You have a run rule, and it's like, I don't even want to play that team. It's not fun. That was this series for me with the Rockies. So the way that I look at this, I kind of saw this as a spring training deal. Let's get Mookie right. Let's get Freddie hitting through the baseball again. Let's keep Andy right where he's at. Let's get some guys back on track before we get into the Philadelphia series. That's kind of how I took this series.
Yes, first off, Colorado is not a good baseball team right now. And that is unfortunate for the fans of the Colorado Rockies, which they do a good job of selling out their ballpark, or at least selling some tickets over there. They just have not been a competitive franchise for the last several years. And you can tell by the way that they built their team at this point. There's just a lot of steps that they need to grow in as an organization, which they've taken a few steps this past offseason to try to make those steps. It's going to take a while for them to be able to implement those steps as an organization to make them a much more competitive type of club. And you saw the vast difference in talent, in just overall infrastructure with this series with the Dodgers and the Rockies. The Dodgers absolutely dominated each and every aspect. There wasn't really a moment where you felt concerned at all for this type of series, which for actual entertainment of baseball games and what you're needed in order to advance some of your playoff odds going forward, sure, it's good for the Dodgers to be able to stack up wins. They've done a great job of being able to stack up wins over the past 2 weeks. Just really good at getting to the point where they're 4.5 games up of both Arizona and San Diego in the National League West. These are series that get put on your schedule. You have to take advantage of these type of series. And I think what you had said with getting some of these certain players right, like Mookie Betts, with him being able to have the 2 home run game that he had, a couple of other players having really good performances. I think that's where it's a little bit of a tune-up, especially going into this weekend series where it's going to be much more of a test with the Philadelphia Phillies, who are not the same Phillies that started off incredibly slow in the month of April. They are still a very, very good baseball team, and they have worked their way up to being around 500 as a baseball club after getting in a really big hole. This series coming up is going to be a really big test. It was good to get the Rockies series out of the way without massive struggles from this offensive side. Although with the Rockies series, a couple of pretty key injuries that took place for the Los Angeles Dodgers that they're going to have to address going forward. They made some roster moves, but these are some pretty key players that got injured over the past couple of days.
Yeah, Kike Hernandez, who I had a chance to interview about 6 days ago. What an awesome dude. You could just see the dejection in him when he was getting interviewed. And that allowed Alex Freeland to come back up, which was, hey, like we've always said with Edwin Diaz, the way that I look at this, next man up, one of these babies gets to come up and have an opportunity they wouldn't have had before. So it's actually, in a weird way for me, the next man up part of it is a fun process for me because I get to see the reward of these young men that work so hard at a major league level. And then Taylor Hernandez, man, I know it sucks for him to get injured. Like V-Track is saying here, about a month ago, I was ripping his ass pretty good about, hey, doesn't look locked in, doesn't do this. And then he locked in and looked really good and then gets hurt. So that sucks. That sucks really bad. But, hey, man, Teo's played a baseball game before. He's won world championships. Let's get him healthy. And let's get Ryan Ward to the major leagues, man. I'm not down about this at all. I can't be down to say that Alex Freeland and Ryan Ward, who I don't want to see at Oklahoma City anymore, I just can't be upset that they get a major league opportunity here. I just can't do it.
Yeah, so there's twofold, and I think this is the sentiment that you're trying to be able to get off with this. First off, it is disappointment for Kike Hernandez and for Teo,
no doubt,
for who you feel for them, especially with Kike working his way back, spending all of that time, getting 4 plate appearances in which he had 3 extra base hits and another hit on top of that, hitting 1,000 currently right now at the major leagues. And then gets this injury. And especially for what he had said about what that meant for somebody like a Santiago Espinal, who he cost him his job by coming up, and he was only able to deliver for the team 4 plate appearances. You could see the just the hurt that had for him as a player, and for Teoscar Hernandez, who had been starting to heat up over the past 2 weeks or so to become the offensive player that we know Teoscar Hernandez can and is as a player. Just really disappointed that both of them got injured. Feel for them, absolutely. And this is not the way that you want to see somebody like an Alex Freeland or a Ryan Ward get to the major league level. But there's also that aspect of, man, I really want to see these guys at the MLB level continue to get opportunities or actually get a little bit more of a run in the case of Ryan Ward. So I'm excited to be able to see how they're able to adapt. What's going to be fascinating about this Dodgers team over the next couple of weeks or so is with both Kike Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez, those are 2 right-handed hitters, especially that have a decent amount of pop. In the case of Teoscar Hernandez, he's there because of his power. With Kike Hernandez, he can tap into his power a decent amount, and you saw that over the course of his week his 2 games that he had in Dodger Stadium. They're replacing both of those guys with a couple of guys that are better hitting left-handed. One with Ryan Ward, obviously a left-handed hitter, and then Alex Freeland, a little bit more polished hitting left-handed as opposed to right-handed. Evidence is by the way that they utilized him earlier in the season. They're replacing a couple of right-handed hitters with a couple of primarily left-handed hitters. So one of the things to be able to watch out for is some of the other right-handed hitters in this lineup. Will Smith, Mookie Betts, Andy Pages. Are these guys going to be able to step up and be able to provide some right-handed power in this lineup while they are going to be missing for at least a couple of weeks some right-handed power like Teoscar Hernandez and Kike Hernandez, or somebody like an Alex Call being able to step up. Good opportunity for him, somebody who's earned an opportunity to get a little bit more run, but not necessarily the right-handed power. It's going to be one of the main things to be able to watch going forward. And then just a continued development and opportunities for both Alex Freeland and a Ryan Ward. Alex Freeland down in Oklahoma City, he improved on one specific aspect that he needed to work on, and that was in the heart zone, the whiff percentage. At the major league level, it was about 27-28%. He went back to Oklahoma City, right back to where it had been in his career norms. If he can do that, if he can not whiff in the heart of the zone and elevate the ball, he did not elevate the ball. He hit the ball on the ground 3 times yesterday, but if he can elevate the ball and not whiff as much in the heart of the zone, I think his profile will be just about fine. And then with Ryan Ward, we'll see how Ryan Ward is able to do with a little bit more of a sustained type of run for him.
So most fans just like to watch the game. They like to see who goes 3 for 4, who goes 2 for 3. They like to look at the box score. That's the extent of the time that they have to put into this. They're big, huge Dodgers fans. All they care about is whether the Dodgers win or lose that night when they watch. Hey, man, that's what probably 99.9% of fans are. We're a little bit different here at Dodgers. Dawgs is part of the Dodgers Daily Network. We like to go behind the scenes and go behind the curtains and get into the nitty-gritty, that kind of thing. So it's pretty obvious probably to most of the people that are in the chat right now, or even maybe most of the people that watch our show. But explain to the common fan who have continued to hear the name James Tibbs. James Tibbs III. James Tibbs III. This dude's raking, which he is. He has a 158 WRC plus. He's 58% better than league average. He's having a better year at Oklahoma City than Ryan Ward is. Not a better year than Ryan Ward had last year for Oklahoma City, but he's off to a better start than Ryan Ward. So why don't you just say, why Ryan Ward instead of James Tibbs? Why don't you just take the player who's actually having the better year?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different aspects with this, both logistically and kind of fit-wise, probably that they're wanting to be able to do. One, I think when it comes to player evaluation and when it comes to players promotion, we often think in the very short term, what have you done recently for me, rather than the grandiose big picture of where things are at when it comes to bringing up specific players. So, for example, if we go back, and I'm going to use this example because I think this is somewhat similar to what is going on with both Ward and James Tibbs, and then we'll get into some additional logistical reasons. Back to spring training. Part of the reason why Alex Freeland got the call over a Ha-Seong Kim wasn't just the plate appearances that he had in spring training. It was the totality of what he was able to do at the AAA level and what they had seen last year. And last year, Alex Freeland had a better AAA season than Ha-Seong Kim had in those plate appearances, and the expected numbers were very similar at the major league level. Those weighed in pretty heavily to their decision. They're using some past judgment, not just of this season, but also of the accumulation of what they've seen for these players to help inform some of their decisions. Now, you might weigh this year's results a little bit more than past results, but past results still weigh into this. And when it comes to this specific type of situation, James Tibbs is off to a phenomenal start. 152 WRC plus in AAA and 235 plate appearances is really, really good for James Tibbs. And this is coming from a player who strikes out a decent amount. He's got a strikeout rate about 25-ish% for him, which is doable with the amount of power that he's able to have. What I think this decision came down to a couple of different reasons. One, Ryan Ward has been waiting for this opportunity. James Tibbs, still 23 years old, and still a little bit newer to the AAA process. They're wanting to continue to have him develop at AAA and make sure that he's fully ready before he gets up to the major league level. And let's not forget about Ryan Ward and just how good he was last year as well. 132 WRC plus with 36 home runs. This is a player that has given everything for the organization to earn an opportunity in Los Angeles and just waiting for his moment. And this year, while this past month has been a struggle for Ryan Ward, no doubt, overall in the season, 110 WRC plus, 6 home runs. The expected results for Ryan Ward is a 353 expected weighted on base average. That's better than what league average is. He is still a good hitter. He has been at the AAA level a long time, and he is somebody that has taken a lot of the steps to where you would feel comfortable with a little bit more of an extended run for him right now at the major league level. Then we also get into the other aspect, which is the more logistical aspect, and it just comes down to Ryan Ward is on the 40-man roster. James Tibbs III is not on the 40-man roster and does not have to be on the 40-man roster until after the 2027 season. Yeah. Which means that if they were to bring up James Tibbs III, they would have to be comfortable adding him to the 40-man roster. And as soon as Teoscar Hernandez is healthy, send him back down, utilize one of those minor league options for this, however short of a time period it is. They decided with the accumulation of what Ryan Ward has done in the past, combined with the fact that he still overall has having a decent season. You're not bringing up a player that is struggling massively down at AAA overall this season, and you don't have to make any sort of 40-man roster moves, any type of juggling with that, in which 40-man roster spots, very valuable, and especially with the amount of players on the 60-day injured list, trying to juggle, also trying to keep James Tibbs III on that 40-man roster. I think it made the most sense in this specific scenario to bring up Ryan Ward for a little bit of a run for whatever time period that Teoscar Hernandez is going to be out. He has been the most MLB ready for a long time, and this also preserves James Tibbs from being on the 40-man and gives him a little bit more seasoning at AAA, perhaps to fix some of the whiff issues. His whiff percentage at AAA is at 34%. That's probably one of the main areas that they're trying to clean up before bringing him up to the major league level.
So if James Tibbs III was, let's say the Dodgers went completely out of character and they chose James Tibbs III instead of Ryan Ward, they're like, no, man, we want Tibbs III. He's stroking me. This guy's doing too good. We want him over Ward. So you're going to have to put him on the 40-man. Who comes off the 40-man? You've already DFA'd Santiago Espinal. That would probably be Ryan Ward, right? You would probably have to DFA Ryan Ward to get James Tibbs on the 40-man and then onto the 26. And if you DFA Ryan Ward, okay, he hasn't had enough major league experience yet to be traded. So after you DFA a guy, you have 7 days to trade him. Well, nobody's seen Ryan Ward at the major league level. All they know, he's damn near 30 years old, and he has almost no major league experience. The book on him, he's not a very good outfielder defensively. So what are you going to get in return for Ryan Ward at this moment? Absolutely nothing, okay? Yep. So if you DFA Ryan Ward, you're probably not going to trade him because it's not going to be a real valuable trade. And then he's going to get picked up on the waiver wires, no doubt about it. And you were going to lose Ryan Ward. So if you would have made the decision, James Tibbs third instead of Ryan Ward, you are losing Ryan Ward. End of discussion, either for a very unvaluable trade or for absolutely nothing through the waiver wire. So that's logistical answer number one. And then just looking into the future, if Ryan Ward can come up and do well at the major league level in, say, a month or two from now, when this same situation comes back up and he comes back up to the major leagues, and then maybe you want his 40-man roster spot back when maybe a Tommy Edman or somebody comes back. Think of it this way. When Tommy Edmonds comes back, if Ryan Ward does well at the major league level, then other major league clubs go, oh, wow, I want Ryan Ward. So then if you DFA him a month from now, and they want Ryan Ward, now, a month later, you're able to trade him for a lot better prospect or whatever you're trading him for than you would be able to right now.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because if they decided to go with James Tibbs over Ryan Ward, that is a massive statement by the organization about where Ryan Ward is on the pecking order. You can make the argument the Dodgers had the opportunity to go out and get a Kyle Tucker, and Kyle Tucker is a better player than what Ryan Ward is, especially entering this season with the numbers that Kyle Tucker has shown at the major league level in comparison to Ryan Ward, who hadn't made his major league debut yet. Okay, other organizations could reasonably see how the Dodgers, even though they spend a lot of money, could make that decision and keep Ryan Ward down because of the talent that he is. If an opportunity had presented itself like it has for Ryan Ward to be able to get a little bit of a run at the major league level, and they decide not to go with Ryan Ward, at that point, other organizations are looking at the situation and saying, why would I give up anything for Ryan Ward when the Dodgers know who Ryan Ward is, has been in their system for a long time, and they wouldn't give him any type of look? That would be a massive statement by the organization. There wouldn't be anything that the Dodgers would be able to do, even if they decided to go another route and clear off another 40-man roster spot or put somebody else on the 60-day injured list to keep Ryan Ward on the roster. That still would be a statement by the organization about where Ryan Ward is on the pecking order and where he should be on the other organizations. As unfair as that might have been for Ryan Ward, I think this is the decision that the organization, value-wise, makes the most sense for them long-term, even though I know a lot of fans want to see the younger prospect make the debut to see what he can do. That will come in due time, but be patient with this. Ryan Ward has earned this opportunity, and I couldn't be more happy for Wardo.
So when you say that you don't have to add James Tibbs III until after the 2027 season, is that the statement you made there?
The statement that I made, and I will just double check and make sure that that is accurate. Yes, after the 2027 season will be when James Tibbs III will be eligible for the Rule 5 draft, which means that he could spend this entire season in AAA and the entirety of next season in AAA. Not saying that should happen, but he can, before he has to be added to the 40-man roster to be protected in that Rule 5 draft from other teams taking him, which means the Dodgers don't add him to the 40-man roster until he's ready to go and ready to get a more extended role.
So why, and again, here's another deal. So once you make a major league roster, okay, you have 3 option years, and I think you have, 5 to 6 years to exercise those 3 option years, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so don't exactly, I think it's 5 years. Don't quote me on that, but I do think it's, I don't know. It's 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, because the last year you don't get any minor league options of your eligibility.
So in other words, you have 3 minor league options. So if you bring Ryan Ward's already used his minor league option this year, okay? So he's down to 2 after, no matter what, after this, okay? So if you then bring James Tibbs at the third up, then he's used a minor league option. Now he only has 2 left as well. So if you hold on to this, then you hold on to the 3 option years for James Tibbs the third. Then you put him on the 40-man after next season, not this season, after next season. Then he still has 3 option period years left. That means you have guaranteed by your control, you have team control over James Tibbs the third for at least 5 more years, which no matter what, you only have team control over Ryan Ward for 2 more option years beyond this. So I think that's pretty much a slam dunk there. I'm excited for Wardo. I hope honestly, here's what I hope happens. What happened here, Austin?
Yeah, double by Chuck Davlin. I'm watching. The game just got started right here. So if I make some type of movements, it's because I'm watching the Loons game right here.
So obviously, best case scenario is Ryan Ward does well. He remains with the Dodgers. He carves out a role with the big club, and he has some kind of big time major, a Will Klein moment or Edgardo Henriquez moment in the World Series, and he plays it out that way. That's option number 1 for me. Option number 2 is he goes up and he plays well enough to where another team wants him. The Dodgers DFA him here in a month or so whenever Tommy Edman gets back, and he goes to a team and carves out a beautiful major league career. Those are 2 options for Ryan Ward. Really rooting for this guy. I told him at media day this year, their first workout, we were standing at first base. I said, Wardo, I've been coming to games in Oklahoma City since 1976. I've watched many a Beach Boy concerts at the old 89er Stadium, All Sports Stadium at the fairgrounds. I can tell you I've seen them all come through. You are my absolute 100% favorite. So could not be rooting for Ryan Ward more than I am right now. And just beyond everything, I can't hide it. I'm rooting for him above everything else. So hopefully this works out. I'm excited for him.
Yep, excited for him to be able to get this opportunity. Again, obviously disappointed that Teoscar Hernandez got injured, but hope that Ryan Ward and Alex Freeland are able to excel in the opportunities that they're given. Unfortunately, for a lot of these players at the minor league level, this is the scenario that sometimes has to happen in order for you to get your chance. And you hope that you're able to succeed in this chance, so then hopefully you can get one additional chance. These players are fighting for their major league careers, and so you root for them as they continue to fight for it.
So have you ever seen a 1980s movie?
Yeah,
a really good one, like
movies,
a 16 Candles or St. Elmo's Fire, something like that. You ever seen one of those?
I've
or
seen
even the Star Wars movies or any of those. You ever seen one of those?
Yeah.
So the way 1980s movies work, Austin, okay, is the same way that a great player or a great team works, okay? And then hang on here with me. Is that you start the season or you start the movie off with a bang. Like Star Wars, the very first movie, A New Hope, the first thing you see is Darth Vader coming in just kicking ass. Holy crap, you have this really exciting moment early on and gets you all fired up. You're into it. And then it slows you down. It gets you into the slow burn of introducing you to the characters and getting you, really going really deep behind the scenes of everything that's happening and your environment and everything. And then at the end, it picks back up again. You're kicking ass and you leave the theater like, oh my God, I want to go back and watch that again. That's a 1980s movie, right? Okay, movies nowadays are just action the whole time because we can't hold our attention. So I kind of say that to say that's what, to me, the Dodgers were last year. That's what the Dodgers have been this year. And we're kind of in that slow burn. Let's just kind of build all the pieces together. Let's have quite a bit of big picture to what we're doing right now. Got off to the really fast start offensively. Now we're in that slow burn period. And then like they did last year, I think they'll pick it up at the end. So that slow burn period for fans can be a little bit frustrating because we can be like, well, there's no sense of urgency in this and that. But I really like where the Dodgers are at right now. It just feels like even with the injuries, it feels like a really slow build and a slow burn to another championship.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at a couple of the moments that happened during the game yesterday, and one of the ones, obviously, Teoscar Hernandez with his injury that he had, that one was not good. But also one of the plays that looked like a near injury with the Andy Pages play, where he miraculously avoided the tag at first base, but ended up looking like he could have done something with his legs. You kind of want this team to be in that type of mold where it is we know the talent that they have. And we want to make sure that we are preserving ourselves, making sure that we are trying to stay as healthy as we can, because the ultimate goal is not to get to 110, 120 wins during the course of the regular season. The goal for this team is to be like Darth Vader when it comes to October type of baseball and making sure they're ready to go and to find that type of groove. And so each of those different progress points that you can see for this team, like for example, with the way that this bullpen has stepped up as of late. Holy cow, this bullpen is looking really good right now. They're playing some really good baseball. You're looking for those type of moments, those type of points that can help lead to a little bit more of a crescendo in October without completely overdoing it during the middle portion of the season, which could get frustrating because there's a lot of games that happen, and there's times where you get frustrated by the point of Dodgers baseball, but they know what it takes to win in October, and they know what they have to do to get to that particular point.
Let me ask you this. Why do teams keep helping the Dodgers? I mean, why do the Dodgers keep getting a guy like Eric Lauer? Why not just let him go to waivers? Why trade this guy for whatever, like a Chase McDermott or all these guys in Oklahoma City that actually are pretty good, a Tyler Fitzgerald? Why do teams keep helping the Dodgers? What are they doing? I don't understand. I mean, I'm glad they do, but if I'm another team, I'm like, I'm doing anything but trading with the Dodgers. First of all, I don't want to help them. And second of all, if they want my player, that tells me I'm screwing up, so I'm not doing it, because the Dodgers just almost never lose trades. So I don't get it why the Dodgers continue to have the accessibility that they've had in trade situations. I would just stop if I was another team.
Yeah, that is one of the aspects that you can do as another organization. I don't think this is just a teams are trading with the Dodgers. Other teams are foolish because they trade with the Dodgers. I think other teams try their best to be able to unlock certain aspects within players. But I think this more has to do with a credit to the Los Angeles Dodgers and their system of both identifying talent and, number two, knowing how to be able to unlock certain players. Because you think back to certain players, like, for example, with Will Klein, he was not the same player as he was right now. It was the Los Angeles Dodgers who were able to unlock very key aspects of him that have turned him into a very good, high-leverage right-handed reliever out of this bullpen. This wasn't I believe he came from Seattle. This wasn't the Seattle Mariners looking at this player and saying, let's go ahead and just trade him to the Los Angeles Dodgers. No, this is a credit to the Los Angeles Dodgers system of both scouting and of developing for their players, not just at the minor league level, but also developing them at the major league level and knowing certain keys that can help unlock them. That is where the Dodgers are able to excel at. So I think this is less of a other team type of thing, although you can certainly say, I'm going to do everything I can to not trade with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think this is more of the Dodgers are great at being able to identify certain aspects and being able to help excel those specific aspects within players.
Yeah. So did you ever have a crush on the prettiest girl in class when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So did she ever walk up to you and you go, hey, man, Austin, I think you're the hottest looking dude in this whole room? Did she ever do that to you? No? So if she had, literally oh, my God, that's so-and-so. She's smoking hot. She's the prettiest girl in the entire school. If that girl had walked up to Austin Brubaker in front of the whole class and went, dude, you're it, man. You are the best looking dude in this whole class. How would that have made you feel?
Probably like $1 million.
So who is that hot girl when it comes to Major League Baseball right now in terms of development?
In terms of development, the Dodgers are the best at development.
So when the Dodgers bring you in and they go, dude, you're it. You're it. I'm telling you, you're freaking good. I'm telling you, you are good enough to help us win a World Series. I'm telling you, you're good enough to be elite. This is all you have to do to get there, okay? Don't you think as a player, I mean, it's like that hot girl telling you that you're the best dude it's the amount of confidence that it gives you when the organization, the Dodgers, sit down and tell you, dude, you're it. You're really good. We really think you're a great player. The confidence that gives a guy like Will Klein, Evan Phillips, Ryan Brazier, that's why they can come here and be an entirely different human being. James Tibbs III is the perfect, I mean, he said that in our interview. I'm telling you, when the hottest girl in the room tells you that you are it, there's a certain confidence that nobody else can give you. I think that's part of the secret sauce for the Dodgers.
Yep, that is totally fair. The Dodgers have built this reputation, and they've earned this reputation to get for players to have confidence in them. This is entirely credit to the Dodgers and what they've been able to build. This takes years to be able to do it, but it is paid off in a ton of different ways that not just money pays off for.
Do you trade DePaula for Skubal?
So this is another fascinating aspect where we have. I actually don't necessarily know all of your individual thoughts with Tarik Skubal. There's a lot of different criteria.
I don't really have any. I'm going to default it to you. I'm always trade for the major league ready guy. I just always believe you can develop more new prospects.
Yes.
But the Dodgers are better at this. I'll put it this way. If the Dodgers decide to trade whoever, they have the best scouting department ever, okay? Who am I to question that? So if they say, hey, we're good with pulling this trigger, I'm good with it.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this on the show on Monday. There's several different criteria that would have to be met in this specific scenario because let's label Skubal with what he is. He's a luxury item for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yes.
The Dodgers have 4 aces that they have. They don't have to make this type of move in order to go out there and win the World Series. They have an incredible roster already. But if you're going for potentially a luxury type of item, which is what I'm calling a Tarik Skubal type of trade, there's a couple of different criteria that you would have to meet. One, there's got to be no other holes on this roster, which, to be fair with the Los Angeles Dodgers, just overall with this team, they are number 1 in baseball in WRC+. They also have the best ERA as a unit on the season. And you look at some of the under metrics, FIP, Sierra, expected FIP, all of those are top 5 in the game of baseball. Their pitching staff is great. Their defense ranks by defensive run saves, outs above average, and field and run value in the top 3 in baseball. They are an overall really well-run organization, just top to bottom, complete team, which means there's not really a whole lot of holes to be able to fill aside from injury. You go to some of the other aspects that could potentially be checked by the Los Angeles Dodgers when it comes to this, making sure that you have sufficient depth after the trade, making sure that you're not giving up everything. If that is the case, then you can go ahead and make a luxury type of trade. Also, and I think this is going to be one of the aspects that the Dodgers are going to have to be able to answer with their farm system. They made some very strategic type of moves, going out, signing Edwin Diaz, going out and trading Kyle Tucker. That cost them 4 draft picks in this upcoming draft. They also gave all their international bonus pool money to Roki Sasaki. Now, I know what you say is the Dodgers always seem to find a way to be able to find some sort of talent, which they certainly have the ability to be able to do. However, with these type of moves, these moves can and often do catch up to you at a certain degree. So the question is, how all in are the Dodgers going to be comfortable in that particular aspect? What I will say about Tarik Skubal is if you have had the chance to be able to watch Tarik Skubal, especially in some of the big time moments, boy, is he fun to be able to watch. And as long as there's not a whole lot of other major holes for the team, of course I'll be interested in the Dodgers trading for Tarik Skubal, because I think Tarik Skubal on the Los Angeles Dodgers just makes the team that much better. There's just several different criteria I want the team to be able to check before they make a luxury type of move like this.
So this goes back to the Edwin Diaz conversation. I don't know if you remember the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
My question to you is Edwin Diaz the best closer available? Your answer was without doubt. He was
the best closer available, yes.
Is Tarik Skubal the best pitcher that's going to be available at the trade deadline?
Almost certainly.
Yeah. Is he the best pitcher in baseball?
He is one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Okay,
I don't know if I would label him the best, but he is one of.
So for any prospect the Dodgers would have to give up. Now, I'm not doing it for a rental. Let's make this very clear. I'm not doing it. I think the Dodgers can win the World Series without Tarik Skubal. Okay. So now here's my point here. I think definitely they can win it this year without Tarik Skubal. Now, can they win it 2 or 3 years without Tarik Skubal? I don't know, because I don't know what it's going to look like. So it's a no-go for me unless you do the Tyler Glasnow deal and you get hey, let's sign a 3-year deal here. Let's do a handshake deal. We're going to sign you for 3 years after this, and we're going to do whatever. If Tarik Skubal will do that. So I think there's some negotiating points you got to work out before you get to the table. But here's my whole point to this, and I know Josue de Paula is fantastic. I know all these guys are great. I love talking to them. They're awesome, okay? But for any one of these guys to become as good as Tarik Skubal is right now as a major leaguer, The odds of that happening is like 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of any of these prospects ever becoming as good as Tarek Skubal. The odds of any 3 or 4 prospects, no matter how highly they ranked are, ever becoming more valuable at a major league level, ever, than what Tarek Skubal is right now is like 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%. It's incredibly small, even for the best prospects. So if you have a chance to get Tarek Skubal with something other than just a rental situation, if you can turn it into more of a long-term deal to where you still have him 2, maybe 3 years from now, where he may be an anchor at that point. So like you're saying, he's a luxury item now, but you can't make the definitive statement that he would be a luxury item in 2028. He might be something the Dodgers absolutely desperately need in 2028, and this is the only way that they're able to access and get him for that. So if you have the ability to get Tarek Skubal, okay, and you have the ability to extend him 3, maybe 4 years, there is no galaxy ever that I would say no to on that. I mean, obviously there's a price point, and you can't give away like 19 prospects or whatever. There's a limit to negotiating there, but I'm very aggressive with that.
Okay, so let's talk extension, because you said you're not trading for Tarek Skubal if he's just a rental. I'm a little bit more lenient on that. We'll get into that in just a minute. Tarek Skubal, let's say that.
Well, hold on. Sliding scale. If it's a rental, then I'm giving up way less. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. When it comes to Tarek Skubal, if the offer is, we'll go ahead and trade you Tarek Skubal, and Tarek Skubal will sign for 10 years, $500 million, or 10 years, $550.
No.
Would you make that type of trade?
No, I'm not going more than 4 or 5 years on anybody.
Okay, then Tarek Skubal is completely off the deal if it's just 4 or 5 years. Because
we've said that about other people too, and it didn't happen. The Dodgers have a way of talking people into these kind of things.
But you have no idea the type of impact and type of pitcher and what Tarek Skubal is looking out for. Skubal, I believe, even with the injury that he has, is looking to set records as a starting pitcher, and he has earned the opportunity to set records as a starting pitcher. You could say, they traded for Tyler Glasnow and signed him to a 5-year deal. Tarek Skubal is a better pitcher than what Tyler Glasnow is and was at that point, and has been through his career a little bit more sustainable as a player. I know he's dealing with injuries right now. I know he has had a couple of injuries in the past, but with the type of impact that Tarek Skubal has had, has been great. Skubal, if you look at some of the estimations and what is projected for him, I don't think 4 to 5 years comes anywhere close to the type of years that it's going to take to get a Tarek Skubal, which means that you either have to be comfortable with a massive long-term deal with the uncertainty of what is to come. I know Major League Baseball, the owners presented a proposal for a salary cap to the players' union today. They're starting to go with some of that back and forth. You have to be willing to be able to do that type of move, or you have to be comfortable with it being a shorter-term, just rental type of piece, and potentially going out and getting Tarek Skubal in that type of move for high prospects for only half a season and the postseason for Tarek Skubal. I feel a lot more comfortable about the postseason October type of run, and then seeing what happens going forward from there, then going ahead and giving a massive long-term deal for Tarek Skubal, because my assumption is it's going to be 9 to 10 years in order to extend a Tarek Skubal long-term. And I don't know if that's something that the Dodgers are necessarily going to want to do at this point.
They're not going to give 9 or 10 years, but they will give him the overall cash value of what he's looking for. So what do you think he's going to want per year?
That is a really good question. My guess is it's 50 plus at least, but it's going to be potentially dependent on what happens during the course of this offseason too, and potentially what sort of structures and stuff change with salaries across the game of baseball.
Okay, so kind of my point to that is the Dodgers aren't going to go 10 years at, say, $60 million. That's $600 million, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what if the Dodgers just said, okay, we're going to give you $75 million for 5 years?
I mean, that with what they did,
that's what they've done with everybody else.
Being able to offer
is they've offered more per year, fewer years, kind of met in the middle of, yeah, we're not giving 10 years, but I know probably 5 years isn't going to get it done. So how about 6.5-ish? Obviously not the half-ish. I'm giving that as an example. How about 6? And then we'll pay you a little bit more than what you would get. And then in the end, the player gets the same amount of cash value, fewer years. So then they get to cash out again 5 years from now instead of being stuck with a 10-year contract. So if you're Tarek Skubal and say you're wanting 750, whatever the number is, I'm spitballing here. Let's say over 10 years you're asking $500 million, okay?
Yep.
$50 million a year for 10 years. And the Dodgers give you, say, $400 million over 6 years, okay? And you say, well, that's $100 million less, but, okay, that gives me 4 more years at the end of my career to make money with, and I'm going to make more than $25 million a year in those 4 years. So in the end, at the end of those 10 years, I'm going to get to win 3 or 4 world championships and make more money all said and done. That's how the Dodgers pitch it.
That's how the Dodgers can pitch it under the current structure of where things are at.
True.
The question that I have is, will they be able to do that type of structure going forward, and will they need to save some sort of flexibility, or is that something that Skubal's even considering going forward, or perhaps is this going to be a strategy that other teams, especially if there is some type of cap and floor type of scenario, other teams who are a little bit more trying to build up their floor a little bit and the amount of money that they have, they've got a whole bunch of cash that they can go ahead and use. Instead of spreading it out to a lot of different players, go ahead and spend it out on one really, really good type of player. There is what my point with a lot of this is there's a lot more complications in this type of process, that especially with the circumstances where the game is headed after the 2026 season, that really complicate doing some type of an extension. And is another long-term type of extension going to be in the best interest for the Los Angeles Dodgers? I don't necessarily know if that is the case, which means that in this type of scenario, it's not just will this prospect reach the level of what Tarek Skubal is going to provide? The odds of that happening are practically zero based on the impact that Tarek Skubal has had.
Correct.
I don't think that's necessarily the question, though, that the Dodgers have to answer. The question that the Dodgers have to answer, and you can and we'll get an answer to this in just a second, is does the addition of Tarek Skubal increase your odds to win the postseason more than in the long term having this player help increase your postseason odds in the future? That is the question that the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to have to answer, is how much of an impact is Tarek Skubal actually going to have on this team when you already have your starting 4 in the playoffs, if they're all healthy, all ready to go, mapped out. You can say, move Tyler Glasnow, for example, to the bullpen. How much of an impact is that going to have in terms of increasing your odds to the point where you decide to make this move? That's going to be the luxury decision that the Dodgers are going to have, even though Tarek Skubal probably would be one of, if not the best of the bunch for the Dodgers pitchers, in which case you could say, absolutely make this type of move during the run window that you have. It's a question of how much does he increase your odds of being able to win in October.
No doubt.
The Dodgers are going to have to weigh and evaluate, and how much they're wanting to be able to give up in order to potentially get only a small increase in postseason odds. That's the question that the Dodgers are going to be answering.
There is no such thing as small increase in odds in winning World Series, in my opinion. Okay, if you win a World Series and it was because it was a small margin that you improved yourself by, but that small margin, like Will Klein, but that small margin, like Jester Mobleski, but that small margin, like Miguel Rojas, for who I just saw last week in Oklahoma City, Jacob Amaya. There is no amount of small to that, to winning a World Series. Everything, if you think that if your mindset is, we go get Tarek Skubal, we're winning the World Series, any discussion. There is no package you can't put out there that's not worth that. Winning a World Series is worth so much. Why do you do it if it's not to win a World Series? That's the point.
Totally agree.
So here's two, first of all, question.
Yep.
You always like the shorter terms. You're a statistician. That's always going to be better. You're always going to favor that, okay? And you should. That's everybody would favor the smaller terms, no doubt. So you're more of the rental than you are. It's certainly a 10-year guy. I think if there's a 5-year option, you would choose that somewhere in the middle, no doubt. We all would. But saying it's a rental, first of all, what package would you give up? And second of all, let me make this statement. I think Dodgers fans have a perception that this front office is stingy, okay? Well, they're stingy unless it's the best player out there. That's what I was saying about Edwin Diaz. That's what I was saying about Tyler Glasnow. That's what we said about Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, Teo Hernandez, who was the best. You might say, well, he's not the best player in baseball, but he was the best right-handed power hitter that the Dodgers could have went and got when they went and got him, okay? So when it comes to getting the best, which clearly, Tarek Skubal is the best, the Dodgers are actually anything but stingy. They're actually very aggressive at getting the best. Where they're not aggressive is like going and getting the Willie Adames, who has a good name brand, but actually is very far from the best. Does that make sense?
Yep, that's fair enough. So when it comes to different prospect type of deals, first off, let's put ourselves in the situation where the Detroit Tigers are at and try to think about what they potentially could be looking for in this type of deal. That's something that you have to do kind of first. With the Tigers, obviously, incredibly disappointing season. It's been injury after injury after injury. If you think that there's been some injuries to the Los Angeles Dodgers, there's been that and then some for the Detroit Tigers this year for them, both on the offensive side and really heavily on the pitching side, to the point where they just lost a series to the Los Angeles Angels, the worst team in the American League. That is how down bad the Tigers are when they had the expectations of, we want to go past the American League Division Series and make it to the Championship Series and maybe make it into the World Series. That was the mindset that the Tigers had. And they had some young players, Kevin McGonigal, obviously one of them, to be able to help put them in a good position to be able to compete. The point of what I'm trying to say with this is the Tigers are not a team that is completely looking to tear every single foundation down at this point. They're looking to get back and competing relatively soon, which means that some of the players that they're getting returned for Tarek Skubal, who they're unlikely to extend at this point, are going to be guys that are likely to help them in the really near future at the major league level, which means that if you're looking for trade packages, I don't necessarily know if it's just the young up-and-coming prospects. I think it's probably going to be some guys that are close to or really near major league ready. It potentially could be one of those situations where it's we want some controllable pitching in return for this, in which case it's either an Emmett Sheehan or a Riverine. It could be we want a couple of bats as part of this deal as well, in which case it's perhaps one of the outfielders. Or if you're looking for a major league ready type of outfielder, it would suck to see him get traded again just because he's moved around all the course of the while. But having somebody like a James Tibbs III potentially could be an appealing option because he could be very close to the major league ready for the Detroit Tigers to be able to help plug in and use that as a little bit more of a centerpiece type of deal. Maybe it's somebody like an Alex Freeland being part of the mix and stuff like that. These are the types of names and stuff. Now, how many of these guys? I have no idea. And I typically don't like to show my hands before other team does because I want to try to make the best deal that I possibly can for these type of scenarios. But those are the types of names, either controllable pitching or a really high-end outfield prospect and players that are close to major league ready that can make an impact soon for the Detroit Tigers. I think those are the type of players that would be around the prospect type of deal that it would take to get somebody like a Tarek Skubal, who only has half year left before he's a free agent, still is going to be an incredibly valuable commodity and somebody that teams are going to pay a hefty price for, because pitching at the trade deadline is incredibly expensive to be able to get.
No doubt. I always get a kick out of fans. They're like, let's give away this guy, that guy, this. And it's like you're donating all the canned goods that have been in your cupboard for which is great. Okay, fine. I mean, that have been that you're never going to eat, that you don't want. You're giving away all the stuff you don't want, right? So hey, let's give this guy, let's give that. It's all the players that Dodgers fans don't want. It's like, Well, if the Dodgers don't want him, then I guarantee you the Tigers damn sure aren't going to want those guys for Tarek Skubal. So if there's a package going to the Tigers for Tarek Skubal, it's going to be all the guys that you do want. So as a Dodgers fan, just know if you want Tarek Skubal, you're also going to be giving away guys that probably in your mind right now you think are untouchable. Is there anybody untouchable for you?
For a Tarek untouchable, I wouldn't use the word untouchable.
Me neither. I don't have that word in my vocabulary for.
No, because there's always a scenario that you potentially think of where things could potentially make sense for you to be able to make that move. I wouldn't use untouchable in that aspect. There would be some players that I would be like, that would not be good to be able to give up, or I wouldn't like that to be able to give up that type of player. But if a scenario presented itself, and especially if there are concerns with Glasnow or Blake Snell, then you have to make this type of moves. And moves from a luxury to we have to fill in this type of role. That's going to be one of the things to be able to watch going forward, too.
Okay, how about Shohei Ohtani, the home run? So think about this for a second, Austin. Shohei Ohtani goes out on the mound, and he goes 3 up, 3 down in the first inning. I think it was 3 up, 3 down. Anyways, he got out of the top of the first inning, no runs. So that's 0, correct? And then he's the leadoff hitter the next inning, and he hits a home run. Literally by himself, Shohei Ohtani had outscored Colorado 1-0. I mean, think about that incredibleness of what he just did. I'm going to say it again. I say this all the time. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. If you're a Dodgers fan, please stop and appreciate the history that you are seeing being made with Shohei Ohtani. We are literally watching the Declaration of Independence getting signed right in front of our face in terms of watching history being made with Shohei Ohtani. I'm telling you, I said it a couple of podcasts ago, about a week ago, as long as the world is still around 500 years from now, we haven't destroyed ourselves, and baseball is still being played, the name Shohei Ohtani will still be getting talked about forever, as long as baseball is around. This player that we're getting to see every day play for the Dodgers will be getting talked about for as long as baseball exists. That's the type of history we're getting to watch. Stop and appreciate that. I know Dodgers fans do, probably do a better job of it than me, but I want to say that again.
And especially for this season that he's having. I know it's not the 180 WRC plus. It's still close to 150 WRC plus that he's putting up. But a sub-1 ERA through 9 starts is ridiculous. Yesterday, with 6 no-hit innings on the mound, Shohei Ohtani is filthy at every single aspect of what he does on the mound, in the batter's box. This is history. It's either going to be a start of something that could potentially come down the road for future players, or this is going to be a one-of-one in the history of the game of baseball, or the first of this type of kind, this type of dominance. This is the type of player that we're looking at with Shohei Ohtani, and it is an extraordinary blessing to be able to watch him play in Dodgers baseball. He is good at every single aspect. He's an ace. He is a power hitter, the leadoff hitter. He does everything for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
He absolutely does. Okay, so you're a statistician. You'll love this, okay? So if you had a player that goes 4 for 4, or, hits 500, do you want them to go 4 for 4 one day and then 0 for 4 the next, or do you want the 2 for 4 every day?
Oh, that's a really good question.
As a manager, I want the 2 for 4 every day because I know I'm getting.
Yeah, you would want that consistency to be able to be in there, or rather, that's probably where I would lean. I don't have a definite answer for that one though.
So, kind of my point to this is, as a statistician that you are, I think you'll appreciate this. I think the Dodgers are really rounding into a very complete team, and what I say is, are they dominant offensively right now? No. Is their starting pitching always dominant? No, their bullpen is dominant. But do they have any glaring weaknesses? Like in the couple years ago, it was their bullpen. Last year, it was or vice versa. Their starting rotation or their offense didn't play incredibly well. So what I'm seeing with this Dodgers team is a team that we thought would be like super explosive and is like, we're just going to just blah, blah, blah. And we're not necessarily seeing the fireworks. But I think if you stop and just kind of put your baseball cap on and go, you know what we actually are seeing is a team that's very, very, very complete and has very few holes. The bullpen's very good. The starting pitching's very good. I know we had a couple of errors over the week with guys that don't normally make them. Mookie had one. But the defense has been very good. The athleticism to the defense, the range has been good, right? I mean, you've added enough young guys like Hyesung Kim, Alex Freeland, Andy Pages to where the play metrics, the range metrics, even though the Dodgers are a little bit older, they're good too, okay? The offense hasn't been unbelievable, but it's been good as well. So I think what we're seeing with the Dodgers, which is, and I think it's deceptive for Dodgers fans, we're seeing a very well-balanced, just a real complete team, but that isn't overly explosive. And I think that's deceptive. Am I wrong there?
I don't think you're completely wrong. Overall, we went through this earlier on the show. Best offense overall in the game of baseball. I think they have a 123 WRC plus on the year as a team. Best ERA as a team. Top 3 defense as a team. They're getting contributions from just about everybody right now, and that's what we saw during the October run last year. You're also seeing some players really step up. I want to give a shout out to Andy Pages right now because if you go to position players by Fangraphs wins above replacement, the 2 players that are ahead of Andy Pages, position players, Bobby Witt Jr., Yordan Alvarez, 3rd in Fangraphs wins above replacement right now is Andy Pages. And that's because of both his offense, which he's posted 150 WRC plus, 303, 351, 548, and because of what he's able to do on the defensive side of things. They're getting great contributions from him. And a lot of other players are stepping up and doing great things for the Dodgers right now, making them a more well-rounded team. So
you mentioned that they lead major leagues in WRC plus, right?
As an offense, yes.
132, is that what you said?
123, I believe, is what it is.
So here's kind of my point to that. This proves my point perfectly. Are they that high in WRC plus because they're explosive at the beginning of at the top of their order? Or are they that high in WRC plus because they're so complete? Because everybody's good.
I think it's more of a completeness type of factor and well-rounded it. I mean, you even look at some of the other aspects. Yeah. They're walking a lot. They're also one of the teams that strikes out the least in the game of baseball, too. And they also hit for a decent amount of power. They're doing just about every single thing well. Walk percentage is 5th in baseball. The strikeout percentage is the 4th lowest in the game of baseball, while also having the 2nd highest isolated power in the game of baseball with the highest slugging percentage. Oh, and you look at the expected contact, that's also the best in baseball. Overall, well-rounded, everything is good. They're checking all the boxes, not just hey, this is a boomer bust type of offense. Well-rounded across the board right now.
I love it. I love the discipline. It's the Dodgers do have the knockout blows. We've seen that. I mean, hell, Miguel Rojas was finishing the game the other day, which was very fun to watch. They do have the ability to knock the other team out, but that feel like Oklahoma State's 2021 football season, OSU forever had scored 68 points a game, and they had the best offense in America, but they would give up 69 every time they played OU, or a really good team because they just couldn't stop anybody. Well, then in 2021, they had that anaconda effect to where, hey, they weren't quite as explosive on offense, but they just were better at everything else on the edges, and they actually probably were a better overall team. So while it wasn't as fun because it wasn't like, hey, there goes Brandon Whedon to Justin Blackmon again, and we just scored our 68 point, and you're like bullets running all over the field all day long, and you have to get 2 different horses because they're running around too much because it's not that exciting fun. You're still winning. You actually have a better team. So I think right now in a lot of ways, even with the injuries, the Dodgers are a better team than they've been in a long time at this point because I just think they have fewer holes and they're just really good at everything.
Yep, that is exactly right. Every single aspect the Dodgers are exceeding at. The only one aspect that you could potentially look to as the Dodgers being subpar in is maybe base running, but that's in part because of the roster construction that they have built. A little bit more of an older club, probably a slower club overall as a team. They're not as reliant on taking those extra bases as some of the other teams are because they can go ahead and walk, they can go ahead and slug, they can do put the ball in play, they can do a lot of other things to be able to score runs to where they're not pressing in that aspect.
You wanted to get off to watch that Loons game, or you got about 10 more minutes?
I got about 10 more minutes.
Okay. So Coach Barikoff, we had a show on Sunday. What an awesome job he does. He's not worried about Mookie Betts. He doesn't want to talk about Mookie Betts. I am the exact opposite. I do not like where Mookie Betts is at. I will say this, the BP he took the other day when he was peppering balls the other way, okay? Hey, I don't want him hitting ground balls, but I would rather have the 10 to 15 to 20 degree line drive type approach, because I think then if you miss, then that becomes the 25 degree line drive or the 30 degree line drive. I think if you start at a line drive and then you hit a little bit underneath it, that turns into the 40 degree fly ball, and a 40 degree fly ball for Mookie Betts is an out almost every single time. So I am worried about Mookie Betts. I don't like where he's at right now mechanically. I don't like where he's at in terms of the approach, trying to hit fly balls, all that, trying to hit pull side fly balls. I've said this many different times. I probably need to shut the hell up about it because he had the 2 home runs the other day. Where are we at with Mookie Betts as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, so let's just do an overall evaluation. The numbers are down so far this year, 79 WRC plus for the season. He does have those 6 home runs, but he's batting sub 200 right now. Yeah. You look at some of the other underlying metrics with it. He's not strike. It's not because he's swinging, missing a whole lot. One of the main areas in which you could have, there's a couple of different aspects into his game. One, the launch angles are basically identical to what they have been throughout the entirety of what he's been during his tenure with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Launch angle about 20. It's been anywhere between 18.5 and 20 for his launch angle as it's been in the past. This is the type of player that Mookie Betts has been in the past. The hard hit percentage isn't dramatically down from what it's been. It's down from what it was in the 2022-2023 season, but not dramatically down from what it was in 2024 when he was still a good player. The 141 batting average on balls in play is one of those aspects to where, okay, that is going to correct itself. That makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with Mookie Betts long-term. Batting average on balls in play typically sits around 300. His is way lower than that, which indicates that he's probably we're dealing with a little bit of unluckiness with this, in part because a lot of his line drives are turning a little bit more into fly balls right now. He's not getting quite as many line drives as he is getting fly balls this year. If he's able to bump that back and get a little bit more line drives, I think that's where he's going to have a little bit more success. This is also a little bit of a question of long-term with Mookie Betts. Is he going to be able to be this type of player that hits the ball in the air a lot with a little bit as he gets older of declining power? Or is he going to have to be able to adapt? And is that adaptation going to happen this season? That's something that we have to wait out. There is some good metrics. Batting average and balls in play is one that makes me believe that it can be a fixable thing going forward for this season. We'll have to wait and see, though.
Mookie Betts has some pop, but here's my point with him. And this goes to your 120-pound second baseman in the high school level with the wind blowing in. Okay, do you want that kid hitting fly balls? Okay, not unless you want him hitting outs. Okay, so you hear all these pros go, "Oh, tell your kids to hit fly ball." I'm like, dude, go coach my high school team with 4 kids in it that weigh 120 pounds, and it's March, and the wind's blowing in 32 miles an hour in Oklahoma, and it's 34 degrees outside. Go coach that team and tell those kids to hit fly balls, okay? Now, obviously, Mookie Betts isn't that guy, but Mookie, even by his own admission, said, hey, I'm not the guy that hits the ball with massive exit velos. So if you take that into the equation, that's the same concept as, hey, I'm not going to tell my second baseman that weighs 120 pounds to hit fly balls. So here's the deal. We all want to hit line drives. This is the misnomer of today's day and age. When people say hit the ball in the air, it's a terrible thing to say. What they should be saying is hit line drives. Line drives will forever, no matter what, be the best outcome to strive for, because line drives turn into home runs too. Okay. Now here's what my point. If you are Aaron Judge or if you are Shohei Ohtani, you want your misses. So you're trying to hit a line drive, right? But you want your misses to be fly balls, because your misses on fly balls turn into home runs. Okay. If you're Mookie Betts, your misses that are fly balls are outs, okay? So unless you're absolutely perfectly squaring the ball up as a fly ball as Mookie Betts, you are making an out. So my point with Mookie is I'm not telling him to hit ground balls. What I'm trying to tell Mookie is your goal needs to be to hit line drives, 20 to 25 degree line drives from right center to left center, And then your misses, instead of being 40-degree fly balls, need to be 10-degree line drives right over the pitcher's head. That's the version that Mookie Betts needs to turn himself into, in my opinion.
Yep, and that's fair enough evaluation. I'm willing to wait it out just a little bit longer, see if the batting average in balls in play is able to correct itself, and also to see if Mookie Betts, as an individual player, a Hall of Fame type of player, can be able to make the corrections that he needs to also. I
think underrated, I brought this point up. We'll go 5 more minutes here, Austin. Got 5 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. I think a big point here is, you brought this up, Andy Pages, Alex Freeland, Ha-Seong Kim, even Mookie Betts at shortstop. I think the range that they've created with these younger players defensively, I think that's been a very big underrated aspect of what has helped this team too. Just getting younger and being able to cover more of the field defensively. Would you agree with that?
Yep, I would agree with that.
All right, man. How are the Loons doing?
Not good.
You can tell they're not. Are they getting their butts kicked right now by the Dayton Dragons?
Yes.
Okay, man. All right, you ready to go then?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay,
yep.
Brother. All right, man. We will talk. When will I talk to you next?
Well, you're doing stuff this weekend, correct? You'll be busy this weekend.
I haven't even made my mind up yet. I'm going to literally get off this and make my mind up here in a couple minutes.
We'll figure it out after that.
Okay. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate it. And to all you wonderful Dodgers dogs out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, remember, it's a great day to be a Dodger.